Good morning, girls and boys. How are you, grade 5 students? I really miss you so much, and I send you my warm air hugs from school to your home. I wish everyone is safe and healthy. Let's remember some healthy tips that we must follow every day. Try not to touch your face as much as you can, even if you're staying at home. Try to wash your hands thoroughly with water and soap. Do not forget to use sanitizers if you need to use them. If you touch, let's say, an item that you got from the supermarket, or if you get in the car for any reason. Just remember one thing, students. Together we can do it. We just have to be patient, and we have to wait until all this time is gone safely. And remember, what we are going through right now will be as memories when we grow up, and you'll remember such days that we had online learning. And remember, these will be beautiful memories. Whatever happens, we must stay strong. So, are you ready to start the lesson? Okay, let's go. Polygons, chapter 11, lesson 1. Remember, this is week 5, April 20, 2020. Now, what's the learning objective for this chapter and for this lesson? How to identify and classify polygons. We have so many polygons that we will learn about today. Please get ready with your Go Math book, chapter 11, your math notebook, your pencil, sharpener, and eraser. Are you ready for a warm-up activity? Let's go. Okay. Now, what is the difference between the shapes in the right side and the shapes in the left side in the picture below? I'll reveal the pictures right now. Okay, you have to look closer and see the pictures. Okay, these are the figures in the right side, and these are the figures in the left side. Can you make out the difference, students, between these shapes, the one on the left and the one on the right? What do you think? Okay, perfect. You noticed that. The ones on the right side are opened figures. Okay, do you see the gap in every picture here? They are open figures. What about the ones on the left? Correct, they are closed figures. And this is the objective for today. We will focus on the closed figures. Now, I'll reveal the summary points after I'm done with a very nice activity. Now, what do we call this in math? Perfect. We call it a line segment. Okay, we can draw so many line segments, and we see them every day, and they are around us all the time. Now, what if we draw another line segment? Okay, the two line segments, they meet at one point. Now, that's another line segment, as we said, and the point or the gap between these two line segments, who remembers what do we call this space between the two line segments? Do you remember that? Perfect, it's an angle. So whenever two line segments meet at a point, they form an angle. Now, what if I close this shape by a third line segment? Do you recall this figure? What is it right now? Perfect, it's a triangle. It's a triangle. Very good. So, such a triangle has 3 line segments. And it has how many angles? 1, 2, and 3. Very easy. Now I want you to focus on this point. Do you remember the point that we said that the 2 line segments meet? Or the tip of this figure? Very good. We call it a vertex. Okay, we call it a vertex. It's where 2 line segments meet at a point. So how many vertices, and this is the plural term of the word vertex, how many vertices does a triangle have? Can you count them? Perfect. They are 3, and I will show you the vertices. 1, 2, and 3. Perfect. So let's now reveal the summary points. I've learned that a triangle has 3 line segments, 3 vertices, and 3 angles. Very easy. Now look at these figures. What do they share in common, students? Okay, I know that the colors are different. Some of them look big, some of them look small, but they share something in common. Did you notice what do they share? Okay, before we say what do they share, let's remember the names for these shapes. Very good. This is a square. And this is a rectangle. What about the orange shape here? That's a rhombus. And the pink one, that's a parallelogram. Okay, very good. Now, these shapes share one thing in common. Who noticed this? Perfect. All of them have 4 sides. Do you see the 4 sides? All of them, right? And they have 4 vertices. These are the tips or the points where the line segments meet. What about the angles? Very good. They have 4 angles. This is what they share. So let's reveal the summary points. 4 line segments for each one, 4 vertices, and 4 angles. Now, such shapes that they share 4 line segments, 4 vertices, and 4 angles are called quadrilateral. So let's say this word together, quadrilateral. It means that they have 4 line segments, 4 vertices, and 4 angles. So far we learned a triangle and a quadrilateral. In this lesson, you're not supposed to say the exact word for the quadrilateral, whether it's a square or a rectangle or a rhombus. If you say it's a quadrilateral, that's enough. Now, this picture, it has so many shapes, and some of them you know them, but some of them are new for you, but it's okay. Let's now remember some of these shapes. Let's look at the first figure. Perfect, it's a triangle, easy one. Second, quadrilateral. Did you notice that the triangle has 3 sides, 3 vertices, and 3 angles? Perfect. What about a quadrilateral? Excellent. 4 sides, 4 vertices, and 4 angles. Perfect. Now, what about this shape that has 5 sides, 5 vertices, and 5 angles? Do you remember this shape? Pentagon. So let's say this word together. It's a pentagon. Remember, students, we have to know the words for this lesson about each shape, pentagon, because it has 5 sides. Now let's go to the fourth shape. How many sides? Perfect, that's 6. Okay, 6 vertices and 6 angles. Now we'll reveal the name for this shape. That's a hexagon. So let's say the name, hexagon. Perfect. Now let's go to this shape now. 7 sides, 7 vertices, and 7 angles. Who can say this name? Wonderful. It's a heptagon. Heptagon. This shape now, and it has 8 sides, 8 vertices, and 8 angles. What is the name of this shape? It's an octagon. Again, octagon. Very well. The one before the last, it has 9 sides, 9 vertices, and 9 angles. And the name for this shape is nonagon. Together, nonagon. And the last one, 10 sides, 10 vertices, and 10 angles. And this is decagon. Together, decagon. Let's say the names again, students. Triangle, quadrilateral, pentagon, hexagon, heptagon, octagon, nonagon, and decagon. Very well. These shapes are called polygons. they are called polygons. And if you look at them closely, all of them are closed shapes. They are closed shapes and they have line segments connected. Right, students? So remember that polygons have closed plane figures. Look at the figures again. They are closed. There is no gap or opening. And they are formed by 3 or more line segments at points called vertices. So we have line segments that are connected at points called vertices. Very well. So how was it so far? I think it's very easy. Now let's have a small challenge here. It's an easy challenge. Now I want you to identify which of these objects are polygons. I'll reveal now the shapes. If you identify the polygons, you can circle them. So let's start. Now you can have a few seconds. Look at these pictures or these shapes and think about the objects that are polygons. Well done. This is a polygon, this is a polygon, and this is a polygon. So students, think very well. Polygons must be closed figures, and these shapes are closed, right? There's no gap. Do they have line segments? Yes, they have line segments that are connected at points called vertices. Very good. Now what about these shapes? Look at this shape here. It's not a polygon because this line segment is not connected to any of the other line segments. So this is not a polygon. What about this purple shape here? It's not a polygon because this is an arch, right? And we agreed that polygons are made of line segments. There is no arch in this. So I cannot say that this is a polygon. What about this shape, students? It's a star, but it's not a polygon because in polygons, lines should not intersect. Do you know the meaning of the word intersection? They should not overlap with other line segments. They would rather connect as in these shapes. Connect with vertices, continuous vertices, but no intersection. That's why this is not a polygon. So far, so good. So if you want to have a look at more examples of polygons and not a polygon shapes, you can look closer at these shapes here and identify polygons and not polygons. You can practice drawing them, color them, okay? And you can do this after we finish this video. Now, are you ready to start in the math book? Let's go. Page 637. Now, this is lesson 11, this is chapter 11, lesson 1, and we will start with unlock the problem. But before I start telling you about this castle in Italy, we can easily now fill these polygons, right? Do you remember the polygons that we studied right now in the slides before? We can easily fill how many sides and how many angles and how many vertices. So let's start with our first shape. So this is a triangle, okay? And before we start, we should remember the definition of a polygon. It's a closed plane figure formed by 3 or more line segments, and they meet at points called vertices. Remember, so it's very important to identify polygons. So let's go back to our triangle and fill in the number of sides, angles, and vertices. 3, 3, 3. What about a quadrilateral? Very easy. 4, 4, 4. Pentagon, 5, 5, 5. Hexagon, 6, 6, 6. Heptagon, 7, 7, 7. Octagon, 8, 8, 8. Nonagon, 9, 9, 9. And decagon, 10, 10, 10. Very well. Now let's go back to this castle, and this castle is in Italy. And there is a nice thing about this castle, that there's one shape that we have just studied before. And if you can notice this shape, you can circle it. And the good thing about this question, that it helps you to really look closer and have a sharp sight, and you can notice that this shape is repeated. It means that you will see it more than one time. So could you identify this shape? You can circle it or you can trace it. Okay, take few seconds to do this. Very good. Let's see the shape. There is one in the center. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Wow, that's a nice shape here in the middle. Okay, and it has 8 sides, 8 vertices, and 8 angles. Is this the only shape that you can see in this castle? There's the same shape, but in smaller size around the castle. Okay, can you see that? Very good. That's an octagon. I know that you know it, but can you trace the other shapes, the other octagons? Perfect. They are on the sides. They are the pillars actually. Right? You can see them on the top. Very good. So you can trace them in your book. So the repeated shape here is the octagon. And how many sides and angles and vertices does it have? Very good. It has 8 sides, 8 vertices, and 8 angles. So now at the end of the page 637, you can fill these 4 blanks easily. So what is the repeated polygon in this castle? By the way, the name of this castle is Castle del Monte in Italy. Very good. So you already filled it. It's an octagon with 8 sides, 8 angles, and 8 vertices. So far, so good. Now, let's study this easy example. It's about regular polygons and not regular polygons. What does this mean? I will hide one side of the page and I will focus on the regular polygon sides. Now remember, students, that we have 2 types of polygons, regular and not regular. What do I mean? I want you to look really very well at this figure and look at the sides. What do you notice about the sides? 4 centimeters, 4, 4, 4, 4. Are the sides equal? Yes, they are, because the book says that all the sides are 4 centimeters. Now, in this book and in this lesson, I will replace the word equal by a new word, and it's called congruent. Let's say the word congruent. Congruent means equal. All sides are congruent. It means that all sides are equal. Very good. Now there's another condition here. All angles are congruent. Look at the angles. 108 degrees. Do you see this small circle here on top of each number? This is the symbol for the angle. 108 degrees. Are the angles the same? Are the angles congruent? Yes, they are. All angles are congruent. So now I have 2 conditions that are valid. All sides are congruent. All angles are congruent. So my polygon is regular. This is a regular polygon. Remember, students, for a regular polygon, sides must be congruent, angles must be congruent in the same shape. Very good. And this is page 638. Now let's look at the other shape. Okay? Now, look at the sides. Are the sides congruent? How do I know? There are no numbers here, but there are these small markings. Do you see the markings on the line? Do you see this small line here and the small two lines there? What do they mean? It means that this side is equal to this side because we have one marking and one marking. So it means the side on the right is equal to the side on the left. But on the upper side of the shape, we have two markings here and two markings there. What does that mean? That these two sides are equal, but they are not equal to the ones down, right? So I have different markings on my shape. So it means that the sides are not congruent. All of the sides are not congruent. They're not equal. That's why it's not a regular polygon. What about the angles? Are angles the same? There are no numbers, but there are markings. Now, which two angles are congruent or the same? Very good. The angles at the bottom are the same. And the angles on top are the same. But the angles on top are not equal to the angles at the bottom. How do I know? Because the marking is different. These two angles have two markings, and these two angles have one marking. So the angles are not congruent, not equal. That's why it's not a regular polygon. Not a regular polygon. Remember, students, when you see the same marking on the shape, we're talking about equal lengths or congruent sides. But look at these shapes here. They have different markings, right? Different markings, so it's not congruent. That's why it's not equal length and it's not a regular polygon. Now let's look at this exercise here. That's a really very interesting exercise, and looking at this shape of two circles intersecting, some of the shapes are on the right, some of the shapes are on the left, and some of the shapes are common in the middle. Who remembers what do we call this diagram? You took this diagram in most of the subjects, in social studies, in English, in science. Do you remember what do we call this diagram? Excellent, it's the Venn diagram. And this Venn diagram is called after the scientist Venn, who actually invented this diagram, and it's really helpful to classify objects or items. Now, what is very interesting about these shapes here, that when you look at them, for the first while you think that they look the same, but actually they're not. The ones on the right are different than the ones on the left. And the book here gave me some tips. They wrote for me congruent on this side and congruent on that side. Now let's look at those two shapes in the right side. Students, look closely. What do these two shapes have in common? Congruent what? Congruent blank. It means what equal things do these shapes have? Do they have congruent sides or congruent angles? Excellent. They have congruent sides on this shape. Can you see the marking? Very good. And on the other side, they have congruent angles. How do you know? Because the marking for the angles are the same. So this is what makes these shapes different than these shapes. These shapes have congruent sides and these shapes have congruent angles. Now what about the angle? What about the shapes in the middle? By the way, the shapes on the right side and the shapes on the left side are not a regular polygon. They're not regular. Why? Because the sides here are equal, but the angles are not. And in this two shapes here, the sides are not equal, though the angles are equal, but still they're not regular. But the ones in the middle, they are regular polygons. Why? Because they have equal sides or congruent sides and congruent angles. Look at this shape. Congruent sides and congruent angles. That's why the one in the middle are regular polygons, but the ones on the side are not regular polygons. Very good. Let's now share and show some of the exercises here in the book, page 638. And let's look at this polygon. Name the polygon. Very easy. It's a triangle for sure. Are all the sides and all the angles congruent? So look at the marking. Yes, the sides are congruent. And look at the markings for the angles. Yes, they are congruent. So I will just write yes. Is this polygon irregular? What do you think? Congruent sides and congruent angles. Very good. That's a regular polygon. Now let's again do more exercises. This is very quick, very easy. Let's first name the polygon. Students, when it says name the polygon, I should mention whether it's a triangle, a quadrilateral, a hexagon. Then I should mention whether it's regular or not regular. So let's start with question number 2. What do you think? What's the name of this polygon? Just count the sides. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? And this is a hexagon. Perfect. Is this regular or not a regular polygon? How do I know? Look at the markings. All of the markings for the sides are the same. So congruent sides. What about the angles? All of the angles are congruent. So congruent angles. Is this shape regular? Perfect. It's a regular polygon. Let's do question number 3. Now, look closer at this shape. And please don't say it's a square. A square has 4 equal sides. But look at this shape. It does not have 4 equal sides. How do you know? Because the markings on the above line and the below line, they are the same. But the markings on the right and the left, they are the same, but all the sides are not congruent. So, this is a quadrilateral. Perfect, because it has 4 sides. This is a quadrilateral. And is it a regular polygon? No, it's not a regular polygon. I know that the angles are congruent, but the sides are not congruent. Very good. Let's do number 4. What's the name of this shape, students? Just count the sides, the vertices, or the angles. Perfect. That's an octagon. Now, is it regular or not a regular polygon? Very easy. It's a regular polygon. Congruent sides, congruent angles. Now, mission is accomplished for this lesson. See how easy it is? Very fast, very easy. And remember, the more you practice, the better math skills you get. Please, you are encouraged to solve these 2 pages. Actually, there are a few questions and you can solve them in just 2 minutes on your own. Page 639, questions 5 to 9, and practice and homework, page 641, question 2 to 8. And please picture the answers and send me to Class Dojo as fast as possible. And I'll show you the pictures for the on your own. See how easy and fast, 5 to 9. And practice and homework, 2 to 8. Very easy. And I'll post the answer keys tomorrow, April 21. And are you ready for a game? Very well. Click on this link and enjoy identifying polygons, whether they are regular or not irregular. Enjoy counting the sides and guessing the name of these polygons. So I hope everyone stays safe and healthy. Please take care of yourself. I miss you so much and I wish to see you as soon as possible. Take care, students, and good luck in everything. Bye.